Hello people. So today I'd like to talk about an issue concerning, let's say, identity. We can call it, broadly speaking, cultural identity. Basically, I'll argue this is somewhat of a personal video, more so than some of the other videos I produce, because it concerns my identity, my background. I would like to just point out a few things first, just so you understand the situation here, the context. I was born in Northern Ireland, in Belfast, which is the capital of Northern Ireland, in 1985. I moved to England in the year 2000. That meant I moved when I was 14. I'm now 27, so I spent almost half my life in England. And I've effectively grown up in England. So that's the context of this. I want to talk a bit about the issue of Northern Irish identity, because this is something which anyone from that part of the world will be able to identify with. Even if they don't see their identity in the same way as me, I'm sure they would agree that identity in Northern Ireland is a complex subject. But this video is also I'd like to address some of the ignorance that I have faced so many times. So many times I've honestly lost count. Growing up in England and being from Northern Ireland hasn't always been easy. When I first arrived here, I did suffer quite a lot of abuse because of my accent. A lot of abuse, in fact. There was bullying. There was local intimidation from local gangs. There was a lot of issues around that. And I'm going to specify more about that issue to do with gangs in a video I'll make about crime. But this is more to do with identity. And I remember I did stand out. Even though there were people, it was a relatively mixed school in terms of where people were from. There was an Iranian guy, a guy from an Iranian background. There was a black guy, there was guys from the Republic of Ireland, so I wasn't the only so-called ethnic minority there. But I do remember feeling quite lonely at times and standing out. And it was only coming to England that I really became conscientious of the situation in Northern Ireland. The Troubles. Now, if you're British, you'll have some idea of what the Troubles are. Or if you're from Ireland. Basically, the Troubles is a broad term for the political conflict, the political and sectarian conflict that took place in Northern Ireland roughly from 1968 to roughly 2010. It's still ongoing to some extent, but let's say the main sort of fighting and violence was roughly between 1968 and I would say about 2001. Although there's been clashes since then, there's been violence almost every year since in some form or another. But the main conflict, that is when there was bombings, kidnappings, massacres, when this was a full conflict, was in those 3 decades from 1968 to 2001 roughly. There's no question about it, Northern Ireland is a small place with a very violent history. Probably the most violent history in Western Europe. There's almost no question about that, with the possible exception of the Basque Country. That's the only other sort of conflict I can think of in Western Europe in modern times that is comparable in terms of the level of violence, but even that isn't quite comparable. In 40 years of the Basque separatist conflict, I believe there's been something like 800 people killed. In 30 years, well 40 years now, of the Northern Ireland conflict, the fatality rate is something like somewhere between 3,500 and 3,900. Now, compared to other conflicts in the world, that's a very small number. If you compare that to Iraq or even the Mexico drug war or any other conflict, that's a small number. But you have to bear in mind Northern Ireland is a very small place. 14,000 square kilometres roughly, so it's a very small place. and you need to put the demographics into context. It's a population of just 2 million, so it's a small place. I remember growing up in Belfast, or when I was a kid in Belfast, seeing soldiers on the street, seeing disturbances now and again. I didn't live in a very bad area, but I lived in an area that had its problems. And to me that was normal, because I knew nothing else. It's only when I came to England that I became aware of the issues, and I started becoming very interested in my background, the Northern Ireland conflict, the background behind it, and what it means to be Northern Irish. And it is a complex subject. First of all, so that you're left in no doubt, I'll just say outwardly, I'm British. That's how I see myself. I'll say that again. I am British. That's how I see myself. And no one should be left in any doubt about it. That's how I see myself. I want to also make a point clear. This video is not intended to be a sectarian video, so I'm not making this video to have long, never-ending debates with Irish Republicans about whether or not Northern Ireland should be part of a united Ireland, about the 6 counties, about terrorist groups. I don't want to go into detail about those sort of issues, because there's plenty of videos for those, and in my experience most of those videos really aren't mature in their outlook, one side or the other just trying to hurl insults, and the loyalist side is just as bad. Unfortunately, when it comes to the Northern Ireland debate, there isn't a lot of mature dialogue on this. But anyway, that's not what this video is about. Okay, so I'm not here to dispute people or to debate people who have a different view with me on the political situation. It's not so much about that. I respect your opinion. I don't agree with your opinion, but I respect it. I think for the time being Northern Ireland should remain part of the United Kingdom, because for the time being the Democrat consensus is most people in Northern Ireland want to be part of the UK. If there comes a time when that pendulum swings the other way, and when there's a clear majority want to be part of a united Ireland, I believe in democracy. I think that's something that would need to be seriously looked at. And I do appreciate that the Republican movement by and large has now chosen the path of politics and not guns and bullets, because they have realised that after 30 years of terrorism that approach just doesn't work. It didn't get them what they want. And I would say, I'd have a quick message to any hardline nationalist who thinks that the bomb and the bullet is the way. Look at what that achieved over the past 40 years. Nothing. Absolutely zilch. So you can hate the British and you can continue with that sort of divisive method. It won't get you what you want. And likewise to those loyalist thugs who continue to intimidate Catholics, who continue to stir up sectarian tensions, you're just kidding yourself. These idiots who are rioting on the streets of Belfast are an affront to all human decency, and they don't represent anyone but themselves. So that's that. Anyway, so I really don't want, you know, if you have views different from me, that's fine, but this video is not about that issue. It's about more to do with the issue in mainland Britain and my experience of being Northern Irish in mainland Britain. It has been very challenging at times. I don't see myself as Irish, and when I'm with people from the Republic of Ireland, I really don't feel like I'm with my people, so to speak. I'm very civil towards them. I get on fine with people from the Republic. I've had friends from the Republic. I get on absolutely fine with them, and I have a lot of appreciation for Irish culture, Celtic culture. I do have an appreciation for that, but I am not Irish, and I do get frustrated with this sort of notion that you cannot lose this romantic notion about feeling Celtic, feeling Irish, but actually I feel just as sentimental about the United Kingdom as a country, about my sentiments for the UK, as I do for any Celtic inclinations. Now, I don't completely dismiss my Celtic... I'm just checking the phone there. Sorry. I'll make another video.